Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we got some upgrades for the old K5 over here. We're going to be ditching the carb and going fuel injection. So what we got here is the Holley Sniper Kit. I ordered this from Jegs. What we got is the throttle body with the ECU in that. We've got the little programmer, all the wiring, sensors, even a little stylus. There's our O2 sensor and the bung for that. Yeah, so this is what comes in the basic kit. In addition to this, I got the master kit. What that comes with is going to be all the fuel line, fuel pumps, various connectors and fittings and all that stuff. Comes with a pre and post filter. What I also did, which didn't come in the kit, is I got the kickdown stud for my automatic transmission, and got a block-off plate for the fuel pump, since I'm not going to be needing that anymore. First step is going to be to take the old carburetor off. If you've seen my video on how to do a carburetor base gasket, the procedure is going to be very simple, except I'm just going to be disconnecting a bunch of stuff. So if you haven't seen that, go watch it. Worth a watch. But let's get going. Going to disconnect that throttle linkage, or throttle return spring, as well as the throttle valve cable. Come on, there we go. My linkage is done up with, looks like some 10 millimeters. I installed this at the, I don't know, that's an 8 millimeter. I know, gasp, there's metric fasteners on my truck. Put these guys back on for safekeeping. Alright, so there's that. Next thing I'm going to do is disconnect the vacuum line off the back. It looks like from the Holley Sniper that it actually needs to go up somewhere up front, maybe in the back, I don't know. I'll take a better look at that. So I'm going to do that, then I'm going to remove the nuts on the studs, pull all this kind of stuff off, and disconnect my fuel line. But you guys don't need to watch that, so I'm going to shut the camera off and we'll see you in a bit. Okay, so got the carburetor off. Got the old fuel line just kind of pinched off over there. So I got the gloves on, don't want to smell like gas for the rest of the day. Stuck some new carb studs on just because the old ones were a little chewed up and bent. We're going to take our gasket, drop that on first. You can see with the throttle body, I've got the transmission kickdown button installed. There's a little stud. This is the position for a TH350. The other one is for a 700R4. It's going to be all in the instructions. So now, and then I guess to show you on the back side, that is going to be our vacuum port for the brake booster. Then we've got two other ones. This top one is going to be for the distributor. This bottom one is just going to stay plugged up. So before I put this on, I'm going to pull that little boot off of there just to make my life a little easier. And now I'm going to stick this lovely thing on. Alright, there it is. Done. Installed. No, I'm just kidding. washers down. As well as the throttle bracket. That's actually going to go, gets that in the way. Alright, well, throttle bracket isn't going to work. I'm going to definitely need to get a new one of those. So that's point one. One thing to pay attention to, this stock GM style guy right here. There's a big old, I think that's the MAF sensor back here. It hits this guy, so can't use that. So gonna have to get a new one. But I'll just tie that out of the way. Stick that on there, and I'm just gonna put these nuts on loosely, and I'm gonna get myself a proper throttle bracket for this in a little bit. But in the meantime, we're gonna stick the bolts on, the nuts on, just so we don't lose them. Alrighty then, now I've got to shorten this vacuum line and get it to plug into the vacuum port right there. So I think about there is long enough. Cut a little long. Perfect. Alright, so that's nice and done. So, can't hook up that. What I can do is go through these little sensor guys. Gonna slip a little zip tie. Ah, didn't go in there, so that's good. Got various plugs and sensors and whatnot. I believe this guy right here is what goes to the touchscreen, so that's going to have to get fed through the firewall. I'll probably have to drill a hole and feed a grommet through. One of these goes to the coolant temp sensor, one of them is a bunch of inputs and outputs and all that stuff. This I know goes to the O2 sensor, and I'll be doing that in just a bit. Might as well, I guess, cut that. And I'll probably run that on the driver's side. So I'll think about where I want to snake that in the future. So I think the next thing I'm really going to do is probably coolant temp sensors, because that's the easiest. And there's a nice bung right here on the front of the intake manifold that I think we take advantage of. As far as everything else goes, should be good. So first thing I'm going to do with that is siphon off a little bit of coolant off the radiator. That way the level's below that of the intake manifold, so I get minimal waste. So I'm going to pop the cap off. This here is a bulb siphon. I'm going to basically stick that into the tank. I'm going to squeeze my end on this and let go, let it suck up all that coolant. And then, well, usually I do that right. Now I'm going to siphon that into I've got a Home Depot bucket down there. So we're going to let this go. My light. Let this go until that level gets pretty low. Oh, come on, you can do it. There we go. So this will take about forever and a half. Once I'm done with that, I'll join you at the intake manifold. Okay, so that's the port right there. I've got a Allen wrench sticking out of it. That's a 5/16 Allen wrench. So what I'm going to do is crack that loose and then quickly try to switch that out for the coolant temp sensor. And I've got a 3/4 socket for that. Ah, well, I expected a bunch of coolant to go everywhere. Turns out that wasn't the case. Alright, that feels nice and tight. But not too tight. Never make it too tight. So, gonna have to make heads and tails of this wiring harness. I believe this is the main important part of the harness. This is the one with the fuel pump relays, the fuse, and all of the other goodies. So I'm going to just plug this on in. So these are the main positive and negative. These get hooked directly to the battery. This is the fuel pump, so that's going to go under the truck to the gas tank. There's a fuse that needs to be mounted, same with that relay. This is where it plugs into the truck. This I need to get a fitting. That's going to go on the, this goes to the coil. This guy isn't used. And then this is to a switch 12 volts under the dash. I already found a spot tap in. This needs to be not only switch 12 volt, but it needs to be still on while you're cranking. That way the computer doesn't shut off while you're cranking and then it won't start. So this is the harness. They kind of make these a little bit idiot-proof. You can't mess them up. They're two very different connectors. That gets plugged into there. And over there. This actually, coming off here, I believe is the wire for our coolant temp sensor. So that's going to just plug right into there. all nice and neat. And once I'm done, I'm going to tidy up all these wires, that way you don't see anything. Okay, so I did a lot more off camera than I initially thought I was going to do. Routed the wiring, got that all there. That's the fuel pump relay. Next to that is the fuse. I've got that all snaking through with the nice little loom. To the battery, I've got 2 sets of posts, so I'm using the top posts. I don't know what they're recommending nowadays, but that's what Holley used to recommend. On the other side, I've got the loom going there, snaking underneath the brake booster. And then it comes out right here. I'm not going to do anything with this right now. These 2 wires right here are for the electric fans. I'm not going to do that just yet. This orange one right here was already in here, and that goes to this little light. I stole that light out of a newer truck. It's kind of nice. Where is it? There we go. That way I can do some roadside repairs. I've got the other wires fed through this grommet for my speedo cable. And then I've got that terminated inside the truck. Got a bike in the way. Inside the truck, it's a little hard to see. I actually have the display right here. So this guy is routed underneath the carpet through the hole in the floor for the transfer case shifter. I figured that was the cleanest way of doing it. So I'm going to go put that bezel back together, and then I can mount the display with some sticky tape on the dashboard. So now the next thing to do is going to be O2 sensor and the fuel lines. And that's it. I got to jump on the fuel line. I got that sitting right there. And I got some DEI heat wrap over there because it goes a little close to the header. That's just sitting there laying on the floor. That blue wire right here goes to the fuel pump. That's also just laying on the floor. So let's do that O2 sensor and then move on to the fuel. I don't think I can do that with the camera. Alright, well I got the hole started. Let's check, see how if the O2 sensor fits. Does not, we need to go to the next size up. Got the exhaust disconnected, obviously. Slide that off. Get these boys on. And then we've got our gasket. And our O2 sensor bung. Actually, what I'm going to start with, yeah. I'm actually going to start, I'm just going to pre-thread this guy in here, and then I'll tighten her up once it's in. That way I can make sure the hole is nice and centered. Oh. Do it the awkward way. Gotta flip these around. That way I can actually get the head of the bolt. So I don't know what size exhaust pipe this is for. I didn't see anything in the instructions. But they did sell other ones for different sizes. I've got a 2 1/4. We'll see if this works. Maybe it'll cause some leaks. I hope it doesn't cause leaks. But the other thing to mention is that when installing an O2 sensor like this, it needs to be pointed down so that the tip is facing down. Otherwise it'll collect condensation and whatnot. That is a random bolt, a random nut. That was just in this socket. Let go. That seems nice and tight, so that should be good. Now I can slip on my joiner that I was using before and put the pipe back in its place. And perfect, doesn't touch or hit on anything. 102 sensor partially installed. I just got to finish up the rest, and I'll do that shortly. So right here I've got the plug from the O2 sensor. This is the plug off of the Sniper. We'll join that together and try to route this wire out of the way. You know, actually, I'm going to unplug this connector, and I'm actually going to route this up and over top of the brake booster. That'll be a much cleaner install, keep it away from the heat, because I don't want to melt a connector. That would be bad. So it's just going to route over here. And I'll probably mount this off to some sort of whatchamacallit, little P clamp or something. Keep that away. Well, there is that. One step closer.